Hello, I'm Tom Smith, and today I'm reviewing Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I don't know if you see that, but yeah. Anyways, this series is just awesome. Like it's so good. I love it. Now I know. Um, I haven't like read the books, and I don't know how similar or different to the books it is. But as a show, as the TV show itself, it's really good. And it's honestly pretty sad that the show got canned after the 2 seasons that it had because man, they're so good. So just try and give a review overview of the 2 seasons of the show that we have Dirk Gently before its unfortunate cancellation. Um, so for season 1, we have this strange murder mystery. Oh, sorry, murder mystery. There we go. Someone's got murdered, and Dirk Gently has to figure out how this happened. And we find out, weirdly enough, that the person who was murdered actually called for his own murder to be solved before his murder actually took place. Yeah. And what transpires is just, oh, it's amazing. I love it so much. You have this character, Todd, who gets dragged into this crazy mystery adventure thing going on, and it unravels into something pretty awesome. I don't want to spoil it too much for those that haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Like, I think the thing that I kept wondering throughout watching almost all of these 2 seasons of the show, and still wondering, is that the writers and creators of the show essentially made, especially season one, they essentially made a kind of Doctor Who series that's actually more like Doctor Who than not only the current era of Doctor Who, but the majority of era of Doctor Who in which it was released with. Because what I mean is this: you have a single story for an entire season, like a serial, essentially. And it generally is this mystery with these murders, and we gotta figure out how that happened and how this unravels into some crazy adventure that you weren't expecting. I mean, that's just like Doctor Who in a nutshell, right there. And not only that, but a lot of the actor who plays Dirk Gently does have a lot of eccentricities that's akin to the Doctor in ways. So, yeah, yeah, it's really good. I love this show. Um, yeah, one of the only things, like for season 1, there's only one scene that I thought was bad, and it's at the very last episode of season 1. Just like I said, it's one scene. So, okay, the one thing I will just give a little context, is there's this girl who had her soul switched with that of a dog. So you have this girl acting like a dog, and this dog acting like this girl. Yeah. Um, if that doesn't get you interested in what to watch the show, I don't know what will. But the interesting thing is this: the actress that played the girl was actually better acting as the dog than the girl. The dog was better acting as the girl than the dog. And this one scene in particular really highlights this because, okay, so her father's dead, right? She hasn't really had any time to grieve or even go to like her funeral or his funeral or his grave or something like that. We don't ever see her mourn, but we see the dog mourn, literally. And on top of that, this is the one thing I found really irritating. Farrah, who's this really cool, badass, you know, chick that can really, kick ass when need be. She gets all the praise for saving the day from this one teenage girl. And I'm like, what are you talking about? In the end, it was a team effort of everyone. Dirk Gently, Todd, you know, Bart and Ken. Oh, I didn't even talk about Bart and Ken yet. I'll get to that. But yeah, it was a team effort. Everyone worked together to save the day. It wasn't just Farrah. Thankfully, Farrah is such a good character. She has a humbleness to her that she doesn't like. She doesn't get too full of self praise. So she took it very humbly considering. But it's just irritating that she's given all the praise and credit for what was essentially a team effort. And yeah, I know Todd did accidentally drop her off that bridge, but the girl, literally scared him when her spirit jumped out of him. What do you expect? Yeah. Anyways. Also, the scene on the bridge is just hilarious. The scene on the bridge, the dialogue is so good. It's so hilarious. That's one thing that's really good. So much of the dialogue in the series is very Douglas Adams in, if that makes sense. Like really Douglas Adams in some of the dialogue. Just like the scene on the bridge, anytime the two investigators from season one are conversating, and just yeah, it's so good. Uh, as for like Ken and Bart, yeah, I think that's her name. You got this crazy woman who's like a holistic assassin. Oh wait, I should explain it holistic. Man, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. There's a lot in this, but what a holistic detective does is basically let the universe lead him to solve a case, or basically give him all the pieces to put the case together. So the universe just leads him to where he needs to be, and then everything kind of just happens naturally through the universe. Same thing with Bart, except she's an assassin. So like she goes to the people that she's supposed to kill, that the universe tells her to kill. Um, yeah, that will come in later in the second season. So yeah. Anyways, it's so fun because Bart drags this guy Ken with her assassinating of all these different people. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. I don't want to get too into it for those that haven't seen the season. And if you haven't seen the season, just go watch it. Just literally go watch it. It's that good. But yeah, overall, season one is amazing. And then season two happens, and season two is one of the greatest achievements ever created on TV, like ever. I mean, let me explain. Okay, live action, specifically just live action here we're talking about. Live action epic fantasy that's actually excellently written and directed and so forth has hardly actually been accomplished in TV like at all. There's only a few exceptions of this. Mainly, of course, the Tenth Kingdom, which is a fantasy miniseries in world of fairy tales or real, essentially. It's a great miniseries. Maybe one day I'll go over and review it. But anyways, other than like the Tenth Kingdom, not so much. I know a lot of you are like, but Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is not fantasy. It's barely an alternate universe story. It has little to no magic, and everything's grounded with shitty humans doing human shit against one another. If I want to see humans being shitty with each other, I'll just go to Twitter. All right, I don't need to see that in a fantasy world. I know, I know, fantasy shouldn't just be escapism, but it needs to be someplace other. It needs to be something different than our own world. And when you essentially have, like with Game of Thrones, you essentially have a seemingly medieval world, but with a very modern atheistic belief system. It doesn't really gel with me at all. Not to mention, like I said, the few magical elements that are there are so boring and so overly grounded that it just doesn't feel like fantasy to me. Barely even feels like an alternate universe. But Game of Thrones just isn't my cup of tea, so anyways. I'm getting off topic. The point is, actual epic fantasy in another world really been done. And season two of Dirk Gently actually accomplished doing an epic fantasy in another world with great writing and direction and casting and so forth. Like, it is so effing epic. I am not joking. Oh, so, in summary, what happens is this. Bart's supposed to kill someone, but she's not killing anyone because her Ken was taken from her, and she's kind of upset at that and trying to find a new Ken. And in the process, she decided not to kill someone, and that someone literally becomes a villain later on in the story. Speaking of which, the villains in season two are way better than season one. Not that season one's villain is bad; it's just season two's villains are so good. Yeah, the guy who's like, he's a bad villain, and he's like that likable bad villain. You know, the one with that like persona that's very likable despite how evil they are. If that makes sense. And then you have the female villain who's just a bitch. No, honestly, what's so great about the female villain is like she is literally an SJW. I'm not joking. This woman literally blames everyone else for her own problems, refuses to accept accountability for her own actions, and literally vents and hurts everyone else around her just so she herself feels better. And she's willing to literally burn everything down to get that. And mind you, she's got this magic wand that can basically do anything. So like with a it cut in half with a flick of a wrist, essentially. Like she is fucking crazy, and just an awesome villain. Like she's an awesome villain, and the guy is too. And then, oh man, so season 2 is just so good. Like there's sword fighting, but the sword fighting's with scissors. Scissors. You have this crazy like bug woman creature thing that's so amazingly like done with the costume effects, prosthetics. Like, oh my god, just look. Not to mention her like training the sister of Todd. I forget her name. It's just it's so Star Wars like. It's just season's so good. It's so good. I can't believe it got canceled after this season. Like the second season's just it's so good. I just at least watch season 2. Like at least I mean actually watch both seasons. They're both awesome, but I mean, the one thing I also really love about season 2 is like season 1 has a lot of character strife because Todd made some terrible mistakes, especially with his sister, that leads to a lot of bickering. Let's go with that. Understandable, but yeah. And that's the great thing about season 2. In season 2, everyone kind of finally comes together, and there's this great level of camaraderie, and you don't want anyone to get hurt, and you're always concerned that they're going to die because everyone's just dying left and right. It's just, yeah. The friendship in season 2 is so good and so awesome. Like you honestly, I hate using the term, but you get the feels for everyone. It's just, yeah, it's a really good season. I love season 2. I love season 1 too. Like I love the whole series that we have. And I know the books are probably different and also great in their own way. And I do need to read the books, and I will try to read the books at some point. But just the series in general overall the series in general is really, really good. It's just, yeah. If you haven't seen it, you really should. Like, yeah. Anyways, one thing I will say though, especially with season 2, it's incredible that it's a TV show because you can hardly ever actually tell that it was a TV budgeted show. The effects in this thing is amazing. The way they have the flying train in the air work, and the moon smile frown, the smile face thing, and the flying car, and all the wand scenes, and the sword fighting, like it's just so good. Like I am amazed that they did this with a TV budget here, because it looks like the overall effects of everything looks like that of a giant blockbuster theatrical movie. You barely tell it's a TV budget. The only time I could honestly tell it was a TV budget, it didn't hinder the story in any way, mind you, but the only time I could actually tell there was a TV budget was in the episode where they're about to cut the brother and sister in half. And in that episode, you see that there's townspeople there, but there's not many of them. So that's, but to be fair, before that, the episode before had this crazy bloodbath where a lot of the people just literally died in this barrage of death, essentially. So it kind of makes sense that they would have dwindling numbers at this point. So yeah, it's just overall, it's incredible what they did with this season. And I think it's a damn shame that it got canned. Like, I really would have wanted to see what season 3 is. I hope we can at least get an overview maybe of what might have happened for season 3, but who knows, I know I probably am talking about the show well after the fact of when it was released, but come to things when I do. So yeah, anyways, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. See you later. Bye. Yep. Bye.